Then King Theodoric, the 65-year-old Visigothic king, led a personal charge to restore his wavering line. His household cavalry, 3,000 of the finest warriors in Europe, followed their king into legend. The impact was tremendous. Hun lines, unprepared for heavy cavalry's crushing weight, buckled under the charge. But in the chaos of thousands of horses and men colliding, tragedy struck. Theodoric's horse, pierced by multiple arrows, collapsed. The king fell among thousands of trampling hooves. Some say a Hunnic spear found him. Others that his own cavalry rode him down in the press of bodies and panicked horses. What's certain, the greatest Gothic king died in his moment of triumph, trampled into bloody mud, his body not found for hours. "Father, the king has fallen," Thorismund's scream cut through battle din. Visigothic morale wavered, their king dead, surrounded by enemies on all sides. This was Attila's moment. He'd kept his best troops in reserve for exactly this psychological breaking point. The Hun elite guard warriors, who'd each killed 50 men to earn their position, struck the grieving Visigoths like a thunderbolt of concentrated murder. These weren't just skilled fighters. They were artists of death perfected through decades of steppe warfare. As afternoon became evening under summer sun, the field was unrecognizable as anything human. Bodies carpeted the ground so thickly that cavalry couldn't charge through the corpse barriers. Warriors fought atop piles of friends and enemies. A Burgundian chronicle recorded that a small stream running through the battlefield ran red for 3 days afterward, not metaphor, but literal description of blood volume. Attila, his army bloodied and exhausted, made a decision that shocked his commanders who'd never seen him retreat. As darkness fell, he ordered general withdrawal to the Hun camp. For the first time in his life, Attila, the Hun, had been stopped cold. But the night wasn't over. In the Hun camp, Attila built something that revealed his desperation and pride, a funeral pyre of wooden saddles, hundreds of them piled high. He sat atop it with a torch, ready to immolate himself rather than be captured alive. The man who'd conquered half of Europe prepared to die rather than face defeat. As sunrise of June 21 revealed apocalyptic devastation, Attila expected attack at dawn. 50,000 corpses littered the Catalonian plains. Wounded men crawled among the dead, calling for water in a dozen languages. Carrion birds circled in clouds so thick they cast shadows. The stench would make the area uninhabitable for months. Instead of attack, he watched in disbelief as his enemies withdrew. First the Visigoths under Thorismund, then Franks and Burgundians. Finally, the Romans. Aetius had won the battle, but deliberately let his greatest enemy escape. Why? Because Aetius needed the Hunnic threat to maintain his own power in Roman politics. Without external enemies, Rome might not need the last Roman. But Attila's defeat only made him more dangerous and desperate. In winter 451 A.D., he sent a message to Emperor Valentinian, I will come for my bride and my dowry. What I cannot take from Gaul, I will take from Italy itself. The Italian campaign of 452 A.D. would make the Gallic invasion look merciful by comparison. Aquileia, the second Rome, greatest city of northern Italy, fell after 3 months of siege. When the walls finally broke, Attila ordered total destruction to send a message. The city burned for 3 weeks straight. Archaeological excavations find a layer of ash 3 feet thick covering the entire ancient city. The population of 100,000 souls vanished completely. Most were killed in systematic slaughter. Survivors fled to coastal lagoons where they began building on stilts and boats. These refugees created Venice beauty born from terror. Every magnificent palace in that floating city exists because Attila destroyed their ancestors' homes. Milan fell next, its churches looted, population enslaved. Verona, Vicenza, Bergamo, Brescia, city after city submitted or burned. Italian refugees reported horrors that traumatized generations: children speared for sport, women taken as slaves, men worked to death building siege equipment, then executed when cities fell. But as Attila approached Rome itself, nature intervened with an enemy he couldn't fight: disease. His army, swollen with slaves and plunder, became a breeding ground for what contemporary sources called heaven's vengeance. Modern historians suspect bubonic plague or dysentery. Picture the scene: 200,000 people crowded in makeshift camps, poor sanitation, Italian summer heat, contaminated water sources. Warriors who'd survived 100 battles died groaning in their own filth. The mighty Hun cavalry reduced to walking because horses died even faster than men from disease and starvation. By August, Attila was losing 1,000 men daily. Northern Italy, ravaged by 2 years of war, couldn't feed such a host. Attila's army had consumed everything: grain stores, livestock, even seed corn for next year's planting. Starving warriors ate their horses, then leather equipment finally turned to cannibalism. It was in this desperate moment that Pope Leo I made his legendary journey to meet Attila at the Mincio River near Mantua. The meeting has been mythologized beyond recognition: Raphael painted saints with flaming swords backing the Pope. The reality was probably more mundane, but no less significant. Leo came with a practical offer of massive gold tribute if Attila withdrew, plus grain supplies for the journey home. More importantly, he brought intelligence that Eastern Roman armies under Emperor Marcian were attacking Hunnic territories while Attila was absent. His empire was burning while he chased glory in Italy. Whatever was said in that meeting, Attila withdrew. His army, reduced by 40,000 from disease and starvation, struggled back across the Alps. Italian survivors described the retreat route as a road of corpses, abandoned wagons, dying stragglers, begging for mercy that never came. The terror of Europe limped home like a wounded beast. In his Hungarian stronghold during winter 452-453 AD, Attila planned furiously for the next campaign. He negotiated with Vandals for a joint attack on Rome. He recruited new tribes, demanded fresh tributes, rebuilt his army with terrifying speed. Roman ambassadors reported he spoke constantly of returning to claim his bride, burn Rome's salt Italian fields so nothing would ever grow again. But fate had other plans. In March 453 AD, Attila took another wife, a beautiful young woman named Ildiko, possibly Germanic or Gothic. The wedding feast was typically excessive: rivers of wine, mountains of meat, celebrating warriors. Ancient sources record that Attila drank more than usual, boasting of sons. Ildiko would bear future conquerors who would finish what he started. The next morning, March 21, 453 AD, Attila's guards grew concerned when their king didn't emerge from his chamber. Breaking down the door, they found a scene that would echo through history and save Western civilization. Attila lay dead in a pool of blood. Ildiko cowered in a corner, hysterical with fear, her clothes blood-stained. What really happened that night remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Official story: excessive drinking caused a nosebleed and Attila drowned in his own blood. But many suspected assassination. Medical historians propose esophageal varices or cerebral hemorrhage. The funeral was spectacular. They placed Attila's body in 3 coffins: iron for strength, silver for nobility, gold for kingship, then buried him beneath a diverted river. Every member of the burial party was immediately executed. 15 centuries later, despite countless searches, Attila's tomb remains hidden. The empire's collapse was instantaneous. Within hours of his death, subject kings asserted independence. His sons fought over succession. In 454 AD, just 1 year after Attila's death, the Battle of Nadeo saw 30,000 Huns killed. By 455 AD, an empire controlling 2 million square miles simply ceased to exist. The Scourge of God saved Europe by dying. Subscribe to GRE Athistor. Why? For more battles where one man's death changed civilization forever.